What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Optimize You podcast. We are the podcast helping you optimize feeling and looking your best every single week. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe. If you're not new, make sure you share it with a friend, coworker, family member. We appreciate all the help. And now in today's podcast. Back with another solo podcast this week. And so the schedules have been a little bit crazy between, mostly with me, basically. And so Matt and myself are going to record some solo podcasts. And today, what I wanted to talk about was really a bunch of different things, which is probably not surprising to anybody who's been watching this podcast for a little while, is that my mind can be a little bit jumbled. But I really did want to talk about just a few different things. First off, like change. And so I was actually just on a Zoom with one of my clients, nutrition clients. And, it's something that I have moved a little bit away from over the last year or so. Obviously, it went from being my full-time job, having, at some point close to 15, 20 clients. Now I just have 3 clients and, it's more of, I would call it more of like a passion, more of something that I just love doing. Not something that is like a career. It's more of like something that I just enjoy doing. And we were talking about actually like how far she's come just over the course of us working together. But it also brought up, she's like, I've seen like how much you've changed over the course of the last like year of just being a coach, and just kind of when she came into my ecosystem. And at the time I had a Facebook group, probably some of you out there as well. Maybe you were in the Facebook group, or, for years I had this Facebook group, and I got to the end of it where I was doing like 4 or 5 live trainings a week, where, one of them was a live cooking show. It was a live workout show. There was, just a live training on some sort of topic related to like mindset or health and fitness, or, weight loss, fat loss, whatever it may be. And so like, it was really fun, but it was also a lot of work. And it actually, through doing those live trainings, it made me realize that I really liked talking on a mic. And so that's what actually created, or had a hand in creating, this podcast, which obviously started with me and Nick initially, who ended up producing the podcast for a long period of time after he kind of moved away from coaching, wanted to get out of the camera. And then Matt came along. I had him on. If you remember, it's probably one of our most popular podcasts to date, was when I interviewed Matt. And just kind of, we had just this vibe that I was like, you know what, like this is good. He ended up having me into his Facebook group, and it was just the same thing. I was like, I could talk to this fucking guy for hours. Like, let's get him on and let's make him my co-host. And so then everything's been history since. And now I've been, working not a regular job. My schedule's weird for sure, which makes it a little bit harder for us to record podcasts some weeks. But we're figuring it out. We're going to make sure we continue delivering these podcasts 2 a week to you every single week. It's something that we love doing. We want to just continue growing the podcast and figuring out how we can help you all more. But change, right? I used to be this like super, even if you look back at the podcast like a year, some of these episodes, you'll see how intense I was. Like, I was so like regimented and strict with everything. And, I'd beat myself up so much when I I ate something that I didn't want to eat, or I drank something that I didn't want to drink, and I missed my workout. And like, I think it's like some of that is beneficial at times. Like, if you're really going at goals, and you got to have some sort of like plan and structure, and there has to be like a like habits and like a non-negotiables that you have. But also, like, what I've found is, I think that misses the boat with a lot of like regular folks, right? And like, for me, I think that it just created a lot more stress in my life than it needed to. So once I, like, over the last year, especially, of really like being back in a more of a regular job where I'm not working for myself, I don't create my own hours. I don't necessarily know when I'm going to be able to eat meals throughout the day, or when I'm going to be able to get a workout in, or walks. And like, some days, like yesterday, I was gone from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And so like, like before I did, I got a 20-minute walk in and I got a 15-minute workout in. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to get a walk in later. But like my schedule ended up being the case where that wasn't even possible. Right. I was like, I'll get another walk in. I'll get another like a part of my workout in, but it didn't happen. Right. And like the prior version of me would have been very like, I would have been like stressed about it. And I would have been like, maybe I would have done something like really late at night when it wouldn't actually have really benefited me. And it probably would have affected my sleep and gone down the road. But the newer version of me is like, you know what? Like that's totally fine. Like I totally understand that every day I'm not going to be able to do everything that I want to do. Right. I'm not going to always be able to hit like the full workout that I wanted to get in that day. I'm not going to always be able to get the amount of steps I wanted to get in that day. It's the nature of my schedule now. Right. And I could get up a little bit earlier and do it, but also I don't like my brain's like, I kind of get up and I'm like, I think I will have the time to do it. Right. So it's something that that I have definitely changed on. I'm not as strict. I have a little bit more balance. I've started to kind of find, like, balance is a tough word because I mean, what does that really mean? But it really means different things for different people, right? It's like finding what works best for you is kind of what I feel, but also like finding a way that you can make sure that you're able to get the movement you need throughout the week and the exercise you need throughout the week. And move yourself forward in that direction and feel good about how you feel and how you look, but also at the same time, be able to mix in some drinks, right? Maybe like you're a wine person. You like to have a glass of wine. Maybe you like to have a beer here and there. Maybe you like to have an old fashioned or like a good drink there. Maybe you're like me and you love dessert and like that's something that you're mixing in constantly throughout the week. And I used to have the structure of my nutrition where it was more of like almost like a 90-10 approach. You know, I preached 80-20, but I was more like focused on like a 90-10, as in like 90% of my food coming through nutritious whole foods, 10% coming from less nutritious. But now I would say I'm probably closer to like the 70-30, right? It's like 70% of my food's coming from pretty quality nutritious sources. I'm always trying to prioritize protein as much as I can throughout the day. But then that other 30%, honestly, like is less nutritious. It's probably dessert. Honestly, it's like 70% nutritious, 30% dessert, right? That's what I'm doing. And it feels good. Like it's like, it allows me to not like stress about it. It allows me to go out and like have a good solid meal of like salmon or like a salad and then have a cheesecake for dessert. Like there's like a lot of different ways we can do this, but in the end, what you really have to do is just figure out what works best for you. Like, what do you want? What do you need in your life to be like happy and to like just enjoy life as much as you can? And also like, what are the things that you want to be able to do on a daily basis? Like, and not necessarily, you know, you could have these really, really structured numbers, right? Like some people, it's like, I'm hitting 8,000 steps every day, no matter what. And, you know, I would challenge you to focus on maybe having that be like a throughout the week goal. Like on average, I want 8,000 steps. If you're going to do that, that's a little bit more attainable. But also, like there's going to be probably seasons of your life where maybe it makes more sense to be like, you know what, I'm going to get some movement and a workout in. Right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get like I did yesterday. I got 20-minute walk in and I got a 15-minute workout in, and that's like what worked for me that I had the time to get that stuff done before I went to work for the day. Right. And then like, that's like kind of like today I did the same thing. I was like, okay, I had a client Zoom. And then I was like, I really need to record a podcast like today, this morning. Before that, what I want to do is I want to get some sort of walk in, some sort of workout in. So what I did today, it was more of like a different, it was a 15-minute walk and a 25-minute workout. Right. So it's like, you know, it's finding how can we achieve these things that make us feel good. Like, oh, for me, it is movement, exercise. It's eating like a certain quality of foods and making sure I'm eating enough protein. And I'm always dialed in with my hydration. I get shit from Marissa. She's like, you drink all the water because I'm always hydrated. But also like down here, you got to drink more water because it's hotter, right? And you sweat it out. And I'm having the electric. But it's like finding those rocks. Like what things make you feel your best? Like what things do you need to do and like in what capacity, right? Like what capacity do you have the ability to do them this week? And maybe that's going to be a week by week thing for you where it's like one week You're like, oh, I look at my schedule at the start of the week, and I know I can schedule out a long walk in the morning, and I can get a good workout in over lunch, and I can like whatever it is, like you can schedule that out. But like certain times for me, I'm like, you know what, like I throughout the week, sometimes when I'm busier, I just know that like I'm gonna get some sort of workout in and some sort of movement in the morning before I leave for the day. Right. And then those are wins. I get a good solid breakfast in, and I drink plenty of water and electrolytes in the morning. Right. Like those, it's a pretty damn good morning. Right. And I didn't have any sort of like exact numbers that had to be hit for those, but that started me out on the right foot. And that leads to like a really good day. Right. And I have other things that I try to get done. Now I'm trying to get back into reading again. And like my goal is just to read something every day. And that hasn't hit every day, but you know what? We're working through it. And and I'm grateful for the person that I've become. I feel really, really good with who I have become over the last year, but also who I'm continuing to become. Like I'm a completely different person, in a great way, right? I'm slowly becoming less OCD with certain things. I'm just like a little bit more relaxed. Like I have a little bit more of a balance that makes sense for me. And I still do struggle with like my body, right? Like, where it's like, I will have like a weekend maybe where I don't eat as quality of foods as I normally do. Or like maybe that 70-30 that I generally live at is more like 50-50, and like I feel it in the stomach a little bit. And I'm like we're getting a little pudgy. But also I have that mindset of, I know that sometimes that day after some of those things, like the day after, maybe you have a little bit more to drink than you normally do. Or the day after you eat like, oh, like we really ate a lot more dessert last night, or, yesterday, like on the food quality side of things wasn't very good, right? That can be a day where you like wake up and it's like mentally, maybe you see yourself in the mirror. You don't see like what's actually there. Maybe you're a little bit bloated. And so you're like, oh, I'm fat. Like I gained all this weight. I can pull myself back in those situations and know that like, hey, this is just like, we're not seeing this clearly. And once you're able to do that and know that what you see in the mirror, like it's not actually going to be reality over the course of the next few days, you're going to come back to like what you're actually looking like, then it becomes a little bit easier, and you don't go to a drastic thing like, oh, well, I'm going to go crush myself for the workout. I'm going to really make it so that I'm super strict with my food here for the next few days. It doesn't need to be like that. And I think that's just from me, like learning different things about myself, learning kind of where my mind goes. And I think I'm like a lot of people where my mind will go to like that darker place when I'm, coming and I'm not feeling as good, or maybe I didn't get as good as sleep, or, I did eat like a lot more like junk food yesterday than maybe normal. And like, I'm just not feeling great, and I got a stomach ache, or like I'm bloated. And it's like, oh, this is what we don't want. And then I just have had so many times where I went like that restrictive route, and I went to crush myself with cardio and workouts, and it never worked well. Right. It always like, you'd go that direction just to come right back in the other direction and binge, or just like feel like crap and be stressed. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just kind of have gotten a lot better with that. And I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for the changes that I have made. I'll continue making more changes as needed, but, hopefully this resonates with you all out there, that, if you're in the same place that I've been in the past, where you're like super duper restrictive, and, you feel like you have to do everything perfect. Like it doesn't have to be that way. And guess what too? Like if you're trying to find like a balance that works for you of food quality or exercise, movement, whatever it may be, that also isn't going to be something that just like snaps into place right away either. Right. That takes time. And like give yourself the months, or like it's taken me, I still don't have it figured out. Like it's a year of like really like kind of figuring out balance, and it's not there, and it's never going to be there. Like it's just, we're constantly working through it, and we're constantly having like different things that come up throughout our year, within our career, within our relationships, within our life, with whatever it may be, that change the way that balance looks that week. But I would just challenge you all out there when it comes to food quality, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to steps, when it comes to all this stuff, think of it in course of the week instead of the day. I've always found that, if you're somebody who likes to track calories, focus on the weekly goal of like an average calories we want to be at, as opposed to like these daily goals. Because, if you have like, oh, my goal is 1900 calories and I did 2600 today, like it's fine. Like it's fine. Cause like when you think of it over the course of the week, like it's like, oh, like I'll probably have like tomorrow's probably going to be I'm probably not going to be as hungry tomorrow because I ate more today. Like it all balances out. And also think about the fact that like it's 3,500 calories over maintenance to gain a pound, right? It's like that is a lot. Like to eat that much over your maintenance calories is a lot. And so like sometimes we can think that, oh, I ate 25 instead of 2,000. It's like, that's nothing, right? That's not going to do anything for you. You don't have to go crazy. Think of it as a weekly goal, and think of your steps as a weekly goal, and think of, your food quality and your protein as weekly goals, right? Like, and if you do that, like there's going to be days where you're lower, there's going to be days where you're higher, but it averages out to be what you're trying to be. So hopefully this podcast has been helpful. I challenge you again, just look back at the changes you've made over the last year. Be grateful for those. I'm grateful for all of you that listen and watch every week. If you ever need anything from us or have any topics you want us to dive into on the show, please just comment anywhere, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. We'll get to that. We'll make sure that we dive into those topics. But we do appreciate you. If you do enjoy this podcast, all we ask is that you share it with somebody who could benefit. Otherwise, hope you have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. I'll be talking to you soon.